Hello lovely quilter, welcome to the Little Amsterdam Quilt Along. I'm very grateful to you that you would like to embark with me on this long journey of making the Little Amsterdam quilt top. I'm Maria from MB Quilt Studio and I would be your host, your teacher. I prepare your step-by-step tutorial videos and help you with hints and tips along the way. Let's see what we are going to do on the first week and in this first video. In the first video, I'm going to talk about fabric choices, fabric requirements, and also how to prepare for the Little Amsterdam quilt. What you have to know before you begin cutting and sewing your blocks. Let's dive into it. Fabric choices. As you can tell from the selection in front of me on the table, I'm going to use blues and whites, the Dutch Delft blue porcelain look as we had it in the original quilt. I'm very lucky because I still have some leftover fabrics from the original quilt, which you can see on the front of the quilt pattern. I thought it might be easier for you to follow my step-by-step video instructions if you can compare my houses to the houses on the quilt. So how can you decide which fabric to choose or what color palette to work? I think fabric choices are very personal and the colors you'll use. Just look for something what you really like and it can be the expression of yourself if you don't want to use the blue and whites. Whatever colors you choose, you have to keep one thing in mind. You have to have a good contrast in your quilt, a good contrast between the walls and windows, between adjacent houses, and also make sure that your houses don't blend into the sky, but they just pop. So how to start with the fabric selection? I would recommend you to look at your fabric stash. Maybe you find a multicolor fabric in your stash, which can be an inspiration for your fabric color palette, or you can go with a theme, just like we had the Delft blue white porcelain as an inspiration for our quilt. You can find something else. Maybe you will be inspired by the season and have a spring bright quilt where you have plenty of tulips in the windows. Maybe you even place some of them on the top of the bridge. Or make a Christmassy Little Amsterdam with beautiful Christmas fabrics. You can also make a tactile quilt and make Little Amsterdam as real as possible with brick fabrics. Or you can make a funky quilt for your children or grandchildren and turn it into a fairy tale quilt. The possibilities are unlimited. You can look at a special collection and use them in your quilt, just like the Dutch heritage fabric from Den Haan and Wagemaker, the quilt shop in the center of Amsterdam. If you need some inspirations, I included a few pictures or ideas with this video, or go into our Facebook page or Insta page and look at other color palettes. If you still have a question, please don't hesitate to ask me in the Facebook group or email me. I would also like to have a look at your color palette or fabric pool, so please feel free to post it in the Facebook group or in Insta quoting Little Amsterdam Quilt Along 2023. Let's talk about fabric requirements. I would like you to have a look at page 1 in your pattern book, where you can see the fabric requirements, how much fabric you need for your houses, windows and walls, sky, bridge, water, frame, and additional fabrics for ornamental decorations, laces, ideas for embellishment, fusible web, and freezer paper. I'm going to talk about it in details right now, just showing on my fabric palette. As you can see, I'm going to use the same fabric palette as we used in the original quilt, the blues and whites, to get that Delft blue porcelain look. I'm lucky as I still have some leftover fabrics from the original quilt, so I can use them to make it easier for you to find and compare the houses I make with the houses we have on the cover of the pattern book. First, I'm going to show you the blues for the houses. For the windows, you will need 6 fat quarters. I suggest to have a selection of lights, medium and dark, 2 fat quarters from the light blue, 2 fat quarters from the medium one, and 2 fat quarters from the dark fabrics. Make sure that you have a high degree contrast between the walls and windows. These are my blue fabrics, what I'm going to use for the houses, the walls and the roofs. You need 16 fat quarters for your houses. I would advise you to have half of them as dark blues and half of them medium blues to give a good contrast between the adjacent houses. You can also mix the fabric patterns and the type of fabrics in your quilt. I'm going to have plaids, stripes, bigger pattern fabric or smaller pattern fabrics, dots, vines, a kind of ornamental fabric, small flowers, bigger flowers. It's a huge hibiscus flower, and some of them are solids or marbled, close to solids. You can also mix different type of fabrics. I'm going to have some batiks, some hand-dyed Hungarian indigo fabrics, and a mix of commercially produced fabric. The different patterns and the different make of the fabrics give some movement and some interest to your quilt. However, if you work on a larger color palette and you have many different colors in your quilt and you would like to stick to the solids, it would also work well. Look at Leslie's Canal House quilt where she used the Van Gogh collection. These houses look really wonderful together, even that the pattern of the fabrics is very subtle. For the sky, I'm going to use white fabrics. You need 4½ yard of different patterned white. You can use butterflies, flowers, leaves, whatever you like. I'm going to have bigger flowers, small flowers, vines, and dots for the sky above the roof. You also need 2 yards of white fabric for your border or the big sky. I'm going to use Michael Miller's Fairy Frost. Make sure that your whites work well with your blues. They don't look too yellowish or too grayish when you put next to the blues. In case you have a different color palette, make sure that your houses don't blend into your background. There is a good contrast between them and your houses just pop out. For the bridge you need two fabrics, one for the upper part of the bridge and another one for the bottom part of the bridge or lower part. Choose something interesting for your upper part or top bridge, either a jacquard or a Japanese Asian print with some hints of gold, just like mine, or something what you find interesting in your local quilt shop. For the upper bridge you need a 7" by the total width of the fabric. In case it's a directional fabric you need 7" by 30" long piece. For the lower bridge I choose a marble fabric. You can use any interesting black fabrics. You need a 9" by the total width of your fabric or 9" by 30" long piece if it's a directional fabric. You also need water fabric for your canal. Make sure that your blues are not too dark or not too green compared to your houses, so they work very well together. In case you cannot find a water fabric, you can use any blues which work well with your walls, and you can always make the water effect with your quilting. From the water fabric you will need 14" by the total width of the fabric, or in case of directional fabric you need 14" by 30" long piece. You also need additional fabric, like these two fat 8s for ornamental decorations. These pieces you are going to use between the walls and the roofs. Try to look for fabrics with repeat border patterns. Your strips should be at least 1" wide. I have here a blue with silver and a blue with gold patterns, flowers, vines, geometrical fabrics. If you cannot find fabrics like these, as these are 15 years old from the original quilt, try to look for something similar or use some small pattern fabric. You can also use plaids or stripes. Just look for something which can add to your quilt and to your houses. You can also make your own embellishment or ornamental strip. We will talk about it later in the course. We also need some interesting fabrics what you can put into your window or doorway or on the roof, like these vases or cats. You can also put clocks, whatever you find interesting. Hunt for them in your shop. You also need a frame to go around your central panel. It has to be black and white, small prints, and make sure that it's more white than black. You also need fusible web to make the two parts of the bridge and some of the roofs made by the fusible method. I'm going to use Steamer Seam 2 for fusing my roofs and bridge, but you can use any fusible web what you know, what you are familiar with and what you like. Just make sure they are not too old. Recently I had a bad experience with an old fusible web which didn't stick anymore. You also need a freezer paper. We are going to use the freezer paper to make part of the corner house and also some of the roofs to make the piecing easier. It's time to talk about the preparation. I know you can't wait to cut and sew your fabric and make the Little Amsterdam quilt, but first we have to talk about a few useful hints and tips to make this quilt making process easy and result with a striking quilt. I recommend you to read before you begin section in the quilt pattern book. This is page 2 and 3. You'll find all important information on how to make the quilt and avoid all those mistakes what we came across during the quilt making process. I'm not going to go into details. I'm going to list all those things which will be important to us in the first few weeks, and I will revisit some of them once we are at that stage of the quilt making process. The main thing, as I told you before, to have a contrast in the quilt. Contrast between walls and windows and contrast between adjacent houses. Try to have these light, dark windows and light, dark houses all around the quilt to get a striking effect. There are 5 types of houses in the quilt based on the number of windows you can see in these quilts. We talk about regular houses, corner houses, wide houses, short houses, and bridge houses. We will start with making the easiest, the regular houses first, and slowly progress to the challenging houses. This way you get into the rhythm, and also you will learn about the process of constructing the houses. But before we make the regular houses, we have to decide on the fabrics we are going to use for the corner houses and for the wide houses. It is important because there are a limited number of houses what you can do, or roofs what you can do from each fat quarter, and you want to save your fat quarters. For the corner houses you will need 1 fat quarter for each corner house. I already have my selection. These are 4 dark fabrics, and I would recommend you to use 4 light windows, except for corner house 1, where you need a medium windows in order to have a nice contrast with the awning, which is light in the corner house. Once I know which fabric I use, I mark those fabrics, so I have the number of the corner house and also whether it's a top row or a bottom row. Once we make the corner houses, we will have enough fabric to make 1 more roof. The next, you have to set aside 4 fabrics for the wide houses. It doesn't have to be dark fabric. You can use medium fabrics for the wall. Start counting from the corner house, which is dark. So we have a dark, then a light, and the dark and the light, and see whether your white house will be a medium or a dark wall. You need a fat quarter for this one, for each of the houses. Again, mark your fabric with the number of the house and also the row, whether it's a top, right, bottom, or left row. You can see that I have only 3 fabrics here because I'm going to use one of these dark fabrics for the walls of the wide houses. So please keep these fabrics aside while we are making the regular houses, so you have enough fabrics to make the walls for these houses. I will tell you when to use these fabrics in the quilt making process. What's important that you keep all your cut off leftover bits for your stripy border and your triangle border. We will need them at the end of the quilt making process. So keep everything which is 1 inch or wider. If you have a basket on your table or next to the sewing machine, that will help you to keep them in one place. Next week we will start with making regular houses. So if you want, you can already choose your first fabric for the walls and windows of one regular house. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me either in the Facebook or hit reply in this email, and I will be happy to answer all your questions. I hope you are going to have a fantastic week with preparing your fabrics for the Little Amsterdam quilt. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week when we will make the regular houses. Enjoy your quilting and see you next week.